Welcome to Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Darts Circuit. A casual conversation about the sport of darts, talking about topics of the day from a North American perspective, featuring a cast of characters and contributors from the CDC roster and the world of darts. Now here's your host, Anthony Eugenia.
Welcome in, everybody, to the latest episode of Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the CDC. I want to thank you very much for joining us, whether it's live right now here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening later on podcast, welcome in. Please subscribe to the channel and give us a review if you like the program. We've got a great evening tonight. We're going to look back on weekend number 5 as we finish the official part of the 2024 Championship Darts Circuit and maybe take a little glimpse forward into the Continental Cup and, of course, some players that were heading to the World Championship. Want to remind you that you can comment in on the chats and be active tonight. We've got KJ McGlynn checking in the chat room, so we'll take some questions. If you guys can come up with anything interesting, we'll talk to you later in the program. And, of course, we've got Jeff McMahon running the controls, hitting the buttons, making everything look beautiful. So we thank our team behind the scenes. So without further ado, let me bring back some great guys to join me tonight to discuss this. And then in a little while, we'll also be talking to Adam Sevada. Okay, so first and foremost, he is quickly becoming the Ryan Seacrest of North American darts, the CDC play-by-play man, Mr. Sean Green.
Wow.
Welcome in, Sean.
That is quite the introduction, AE. Thank you so much for having me. It's always an absolute pleasure to be here. It always shocks me that I keep getting invited, and I'll keep coming back if you keep inviting me.
All right, I got a chuckle out of you. So next time I can give you a little zinger, and we'll see how that one flies.
Yeah.
All right. Joining Sean tonight, Have Tournament Will Travel. This gentleman has been a tournament director in 6 different countries over 2 continents. The leader of our little gang here, the CEO of the CDC, and my good friend, Mr. Peter Citera. And Pete's muted. It's mime night here on Shooting the Bull. That's all right, Pete. I've got enough hot wind that I'll pick up the slack. No worries.
The mute is still muted?
Hey, there you are.
The mute is not, that was not on my side. So I'm looking, I'm like, hey, I made a joke about Ryan Seacrest. I was ready to go. And now I'm throwing a little bit off my game. So
yeah, that was my
Pete
bad.
was killing it. He's like, he's like up at the Concord, the jokes are just going nowhere, Pete. All right.
That's right. I'm dying over here.
Dying on the vine. So welcome in Sean and Pete. And I mean, what a great evening we've got here, coming off of just a wonderful weekend last week in Indy. And before we begin with, dissecting what happened and give me your, what did you guys expect going into a final weekend that had just a real, overabundance of storylines that was really pretty awesome. So Sean, going in as the guy going to be behind the mic with Gordon Dixon, what things were you anticipating?
Yeah, so first of all, it is always super easy to do weekend number 5 or weekend number 4, how it used to be for us. I've done it now the past 3 years, and it's because the storylines are so easy to create, to make. And as long as I have that information at the ready, which that's how I'm prepping for this weekend always, I'm looking at who can possibly make the Continental Cup, who's in the 23rd spot all the way up to 16, right? Who maybe isn't going to be at weekend number 5, who's already qualified in the Continental Cup, like Jeff Smith and Jack Robinson was. And is that going to cost them a spot in that? And who's going to jump in there? And then, of course, who's going to get that spot at the World Championships? There's 3 up for grabs, and coming into it, Stowe Bunce was so close to some great competitors right below him that it really made it an intriguing weekend. So by even Friday evening, we had a good understanding of where everyone sat, what everyone needed to do. And it's just, all I have to do is then just spew that out for everyone to know. It's real easy. I love it. It's an exciting weekend. It's the most fun weekend that we do. on the tour that the season that we do it. And yeah, Judgment Day was fantastic. Everything it could possibly ever happen was great.
So now, Pete, you're the guy going in, obviously, not only just CEO, but you're tournament director and then doing all the admin stuff. Like, you're the guy who's got everybody, holding everybody's nerves for the weekend because, you're in control of the points and what's going to happen. So, what's your mindset? What do you see playing out as we went into Indy?
The mindset is don't screw this up. That's the mindset.
Screw the pooch.
Don't screw this up. No, a lot of times weekend 4, this case weekend 5, is a little anticlimactic because we have a lot of the storylines that are written, especially by the end of the second event on the weekend. The storylines are written, and the third event is sometimes just anticlimactic. If they're not all booked, somebody needs 1 point, 2 points. They win a match and they're in, and then the rest of it just becomes kind of trying to drag the plot line along over the finish so that people remain tuned in. That was not the case this time. It was wonderful. And this is the tightest that the points race has ever been. I've got my other computer here. I've got what it looked like before the weekend, what it looked like after the weekend, watching the movement, David Cameron playing himself out of a spot, Leonard Gates being far enough up that you thought that he was untouchable for the number 1 spot, and then has a weekend that you can only describe as disappointing if you're him, still manages to get to the World Championship, still manages to clinch number 1. But, it's not the storyline you'd want to write going into the Continental Cup and the World. So, so many subplots and twists there. It was just wonderful being in that room.
And that's when sport is truly great, right? And particularly our sport is when you can have those personal storylines, is when you can identify with the competitors from a personal basis, that there's such a battle going on for what potentially is life-changing opportunities, right, to go play in the World Championship. So we go into it with guys like actually Adam Sevada was just on the outside looking in. We'll get to where, as the weekend unfolded, he put himself even more, stronger position, but Spellman goes in with the shot. Jim Long goes in a good position based on Chicago. David Cameron's trying to build on what he had done early in the season. And like you said, Leonard Gates is sitting there seemingly on the top of the hill, but still had some work to do. So we go into Friday night. We had a Friday night event, the Winmore Darts Masters, main event number 12. So Adam Sevada takes the W on that, all right? And we can, go through and see he beats Long in the final. So now that gives Long another big spot on Cameron. I think, didn't Cameron get knocked out maybe second round on Friday night? Something like that.
Friday was quarterfinal.
Friday was quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Exactly. To Mr. Sevada. Yeah, I've got Adams Road. I mean, and just to stay on him for a second in terms of like what a win this was. Jim Long in the final, Jeff Springer in the semis, Cameron in the quarters, Jacob Taylor in the top 16, Nick Lindbergh in the top 32. Those are, I think they're all top 10 players. Like that's an insane run there. There's your winners on the weekend. Sevada picked up 2 and Jake Womack picked up on Saturday. Let's go, before I get your reaction on the Friday night, let's go hear from Adam, and then we'll circle back to you guys and give me your take. If we've got that ready. We may not have that ready. So,
to be honest, I was nervous. I was really nervous because I think 3 years ago, I won my first CDC event, and, just kind of played out great this weekend. So for me, it was just a matter of time, and I've been throwing good. And I'm into the final a couple weeks ago in Niagara, but I think for me, it was just a matter of time before it happened again.
And Sean, what I heard that live, but I didn't recall until we heard it again. What a great phrase there. Just a matter of time. We saw that. I sat with you and did Chicago the weekends, and Adam, it was coming. It was, averages were high 90s into the hundreds in Chicago in weekends. What was it, 2 and 3 respectively? And then he had another big week. So we had said that at that time, it's coming. Like these trophies are coming for Adam Sevada.
Oh, absolutely. It really was a matter of time. It was great to see him get across that finish line this past weekend, especially in Indy. It's weird how full circle some things are. I didn't really know Adam Sevada at all heading into this season. He was not on the CDC tour the past 2 years when I was. So I got to get to know him really well at the U.S. Darts Masters. We literally hung out a couple of the evenings and got to know each other really well. It's one of those great parts of my job is to see that come full circle right at the end of the year, and able to interview him and as a champion for the first time in a few years was really cool. And that's really what I wanted to capture there, was just how cool that moment was to finally get over the line. He had been third highest in the averages heading into those events this weekend. It just seemed like someone always played better. And that play better was a 98, 99, 100 average to beat him, because that's what it took to beat Adam Sevada this year on tour. And you just really expect him to finally break through. And for him to get it done twice, that's still not surprising.
And we'll connect the dots a little bit. You know, Pete was there in Philadelphia in, what was it, 2021, I think, when Sevada came in and took a title coming through as a qualifier. So, and I know you've been tracking him, Pete, and, you know, we've always waited for Sevada to come back, and now he's back, and he's back big time.
Yeah, he picked up 40 points on the weekend. 40 points. Talk about just an absolutely stunning move for anybody. I mean, it's reminiscent. The only person, as far as I know, and don't hold me to this because obviously I haven't gone back and looked at every weekend of darts, but as far as I know, the only person who's done more than that has been Stowe Bunce, who picked up, 54 when he happened to win 3 events in a given weekend. But picking up 40 points in that field, holy mackerel. It's stunning. And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy either. It's interesting because you viewed this almost as his freshman year on the tour. I know he won back in 2019, 21, sorry. And it was a weekend where that was just a weird weekend when he won, right? That was the weekend that Stefano took an event and Sevada took an event. It was the weekend of the qualifier, and it was kind of just full moon or something. But he's been back this year. He's definitely made a name for himself. And there's nobody set up better going into the Continental Cup than Adam Sevada. His confidence is high. He had the results. You gotta tag him as one of the favorites to walk away with that event, just based on his performance over the past, not even just the past weekend, but the past 3.
Absolutely. So we rolled into Saturday and we saw the DJD Ruckus at the Crossroads, and we'll go over. Jake Womack took the title, and we see him there beating Jim Long again. And this is why we'll fill in the storyline with Jim Long, and he's setting the table here, back-to-back finals. Doesn't win a trophy, but puts himself in good spot. So Jake Womack takes the title, going through Mawson, Taylor, Mitchell, another big murderer's row. So let's hear from Jake Womack, the winner of the Ruckus at the Crossroads.
Jim and I have had a few matches, for tit for tat, going through Chicago and New York. So coming to this, I really wanted it, and then I kept thinking, just 4 more legs, just 3 more legs, and I kind of thought about it too much. There's more than just playing a weekend. It's, World Championships, a Grand Slam, Continental Cup. It's everything. So kind of pulled, the bigger picture out, not just thinking small, but think there's still a pie in the sky.
So Pete, and then I'll go to Sean. Not only let's talk about Womack, but now give me in your answers, give me your take on, we've got two tournaments under our belt at this point. What's going on with the players, with Camerons and Spellmans and guys that are making those runs, right? Give me those in your answers. But Pete, first, let's give Jake. I keep wanting to say Jacob Womack because that's what he was for quite a while. Now he's a big boy. He's Jake. But you give him his due that he's winner on Saturday, and I want to go all the way back to Las Vegas. If you recall, we saw him. My recollection is, remember that it was a winner goes on stage match against Dawson Marshall, and even though Dawson won, everybody was happy for Dawson. The murmur behind was, who is this Womack kid?
Yeah, that was no doubt that was his coming out party. But you got to give him credit. He won an event last year too. He has been playing at a very high level for the past 2 years. Last year he missed a couple of weekends, so the story wasn't written the way it was this year. I quite honestly, I think he was probably in a position, if he had been able to attend all the weekends last year, he would have been in a position similar to where he was this year. But when you're talking about the Ruckus at the Crossroads, event 13, the story, certainly the headline is Jake Womack, but to me, the story here is this is where David Cameron got himself in trouble. He goes out in the first round of the first hurdle to Rob Ethington, and that's the absolute last thing he could afford to have had happen, given where he was in the standings. Picked up 1 point, and then with Jim Long then making another final. That's really, I think, where you can look at his world championship aspirations being derailed. It was just an interesting kind of story. We're sitting behind the control desk and looking at some of the names that were eliminated early and just going, wow, who would have thought that this would happen? Alex Spellman does make a quarterfinal, but he's another guy who needs to make a semi, make a final to cement his position at the Alley Pally, and he's going to feel a little bit behind the 8 ball after that result.
Now to you, Sean. I mean, whenever we cover Womack, you love to, and rightly so. I mean, he deserves his accolades for going through. Most famously, he comes to us and goes through the Evolution Tour like a poop through a goose, literally. But give me your take, on Womack and then the other stuff that was going on there on the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he was a god in the CDC Evolution Tour in 2019. That's how you can really say it. He didn't lose a single match. He didn't lose a single final by less than 2 legs. So going into that Evolution Tour, I'm telling you, especially back then, there were some great players playing in that season. So for him to get through and get to that, some other tour card holders, you kind of expected him to become what he's become. It's really cool to see. And I will always bring up that 2019 Evolution Tour. I don't think that's ever going to be matched by anyone ever again, no matter how long that continues to go on. But I think Peter knocked it right out of the park with his answer. In the commentary booth, all we're looking at, right, is the storylines that we could possibly push for the rest of the event today, and then of course going into tomorrow. And when David Cameron loses to Rob Ethington in the first round, that's a big eyebrow raiser, to say the least. And then you watch Jim Long, who got a bye in the first round by withdrawal. So now he's already going to have the point lead heading into the next day. And now it's how much of a lead is he going to get? And for him to run to the semi or to the final again, I mean, you can give hats off, or you can say David Cameron, did what he did, but Jim Long had to perform and make a couple of finals to really cement that spot. And he did that, which was really, really cool against some major opponents like Alex Spellman. He beat him in the quarterfinals. Stowe Bunt's losing in the top 16, right? So that brings Stowe now down to 92 points and right there in attacking distance with Alex Spellman. And then Sevada now gets put into the mix, right? It was really cool. Like, I hate to put this on the players, but it was a really cool way that worked out at this event for it to turn into really the storylines become endless on Sunday. It really made it a really cool Sunday.
And look at Jim Long. That storyline almost doesn't get written because he's on the fence for Niagara the weekend before. Yep. He's supposed to be over in England. Remember, he took a downgrade in Modus Champions Week to be able to play CDC. And that wasn't a given that was going to happen. And he kind of said,
he gambled on himself. He gambled on himself.
Exactly
and it paid
right.
off. I love that.
And everything's coming up Jim Long, right? And now he's going back to the Alley Pally.
So now, before we leave Saturday, though, just, I glanced over and the numbers from Womack were just, 92 average in his semis, 101 in the quarters. So good showing from Womack, and there's so much more to come. And we'll get to the Continental Cup on how dangerous some of these guys are going into the Cup. So now Sunday morning we wake up and it is CDC Judgment Day, right? So many more storylines, we're race to get in to the Cup. Essentially there were kind of 14 spots, but there was Jeff Smith and Dave Richardson sitting there 15 and 16, Jack Robinson, John Parch, Sean Mitchell, Nick Lindbergh, a couple of names breathing down their neck. We've talked about the players going into the World Championship race. But there is Adam Sevada again at the end of everything, hoisting a trophy, and there's your winner. So let's go hear from Adam again. We're gonna talk a little bit about the PDC race, and then we'll get Adam in here.
The day started off a little different. I found out I had a bye with Colin Rath. I didn't want to start like that, because I didn't get a little more match, nothing against him, but it's just a little rough just going into, another match after that. But the darts were landing great, and it was going great all day. When I woke up this morning, even last night, I have to win. I have to win today to give myself a chance.
Oh man, disaster! All right, my window I was going to open up move the window, and it closed on event 14 from Dart Connect. So we'll do it all by memory, and I'm sure my boys have some notes. But so Adam Sevada picks up his second title, and you touched on it, Pete. And I was going to do the specific homework, but I'll go off the top of my head. With all the storylines, Sevada winning 2 out of 3. That's why we have him as a guest. We don't want that to get lost in the Continental Cup and the PDC race. It's not a rare occurrence to win that many CDC events in a weekend. We've early days when we had 2 in a weekend. DJ Sayer does it in Cleveland. Butler does it in Philly. And then, of course, last year, Stowe Bunce picks up all 3 in a weekend. But I can't remember anybody else. So maybe you can, Pete. But, Sevada's joining a select few to pick up, multiple titles in a weekend.
Yeah, and to do it with that amount of pressure riding on your shoulders, everything was at stake this weekend, right? And that's the beauty of sport. So he goes in knowing he has to pick up a win, gets it done, and still doesn't get where he wants to be, still falls short of the promised land. And so it's a joyous occasion, but it's also a little bit heartbreaking because you don't achieve the goal that you're capable of achieving. Nothing against the performance. Obviously, he was a rock star, but it was just that far behind and couldn't get over the hump.
So now to you, Sean, in the booth there, and if Pete wants to come back with anything on this, everybody's watching this. Everybody's watching Chases. We get to the semifinals, right? And you've got Stowe Bunce playing Alex Spellman on one side, Adam Sevada, and forgive me who he's playing. You guys,
Jason Watt.
Do you remember? Jason Watt.
Jason Watt making his first semifinal. Yep.
Absolutely, right? Again, we're all watching. We love that stuff too, guys. That's another thing we probably overlooked because we saw some guys really have Gino Florian. We love that to watch guys that have played and put time into this to have those weekends that they can now really stand on. But so the scenario you're looking at there is, Bunce needs to get into the final, go to the Worlds. Sevada, Spellman both need to win the event. So we were all looking like, boy, oh boy, what a storyline this could be if it goes to the final and it's Spellman Sevada, winner goes to the World Championship. But Bunce just came out like an absolute beast in that semi, and moves into the final. And so give me your take on that behind the mic, Sean.
I mean, it's what we dream of, right? As commentary, is to have it match up to where it's a play-in game for the World Championship spot. Are you kidding me? And you're watching that semifinal, but you're also rooting for Stowe, right? He's been in that third spot heading into the weekend. You don't really want to see a guy like him, who probably has some unfinished business at Worlds, to lose that spot kind of last second. So you go into that semifinal, and it's weird. It's weird to almost root against Stowe Bunce just to make sure you have a play in the final. But it's weird how, your dart heart works sometimes, where you just wanted something like that. And Stowe getting it done obviously was still great for him and great for everyone that's going to get to watch Worlds. It's always great to have the Neon Nightmare at the World Championship. But Adam Sevada, again, gets it through. And you get to the final, right? That's supposed to be this huge, like, all right, sigh of relief, everything's over. And then it goes 15 darters, 14 darts, 11, 14, 12, 15, 16, 16, 17, 15 is how the final went for the number of darts it took to win each match, right? You get a big fish in the final. Adam Sevada wins with over 100 average. You couldn't ask for a better final. It might have actually beat a final that had Alex Spellman versus Adam Sevada. Like it probably would have beat that. It was really cool to see them kind of at the high level. It was a good victory lap for the tour season to have those two players play like that in the final. But John Part's run in the top 16 was also huge to get him into the Continental Cup. That's always a big storyline going into it is that Sunday charge from who's going to come back from that out of the top 16 spot to get into there. Jack Robinson got into it for about a minute and then John Part took it, which was really cool to see. He had to get a top 16 to do it. And it could not have worked out better for a commentary to be able to see all that.
But that bunt storyline almost doesn't happen. He goes 6-5 against Brandon on the floor in the last 16, and the match he very easily could have lost. He played fantastic in the decider, don't get me wrong, and that's what Stowe does. He gets himself under pressure, and when he gets under pressure, he rises to the occasion. It's Stowe's trademark, but it almost doesn't happen. And then Spellman, we talk about the bunt Spellman match. Spellman kind of cruises through Jim Long, who doesn't know at that point he's guaranteed. I mean, he thinks he's guaranteed, but he doesn't know, right? There's a lot of pressure on that match, and he gets through. Spellman gets through 6-1, and then ends up just running into a buzzsaw with no answers for what Stowe threw at him to seal the deal. And you'd love to see a win and in final. It's always a dream thing, but. I think that there's storylines that we haven't touched on yet.
Yeah, we will roll over the Continental Cup and who made it and all of that fun stuff as we close the show later this evening. And want to remind you, if you want to join us in Philadelphia, October 18th and 19th, you can. Tickets are on sale now at champdarts.com. And you can also sign up for the CDC newsletter at our website and on our social media platforms. So without further ado, let's bring in the winner of two events this weekend, the Reaper, Adam Sevada. Where's Mr. Hey, Adam, welcome in, brother. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. And you?
Doing great. Everybody's watched, what a wonderful summer. In Brownsburg earlier this year, you qualified for the PDC US Masters, and I was in the room that day at MSG, and so well received, and you look like you were having a time of your life. And as the summer just progressed, you get hot. Me and Sean watch you just do magical stuff. You come peeking into the commentary booth to cool off in Chicago. And then pick up two titles. So, before my boys jump in here, just give us your take on this summer as things have unfolded for you on the championship dart circuit.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great time. I've been wanting to come back on the tour after being off since Philadelphia, 3 years ago?
21.
21. Got my card online and told myself I was going to do every event. So I've been there. Darts have been great. Went into Indy. I think everybody's main goal there is, everybody wants to win a CDC event, but the biggest one for me, maybe others too, was the US Masters. Thankfully, I was able to pull that out by the order of merit. And then the darts have been flying great, all season. And, I really can't complain, but it's been good. And then the last event last weekend went really well. No complaints there. Besides missing out on the world.
Two out of three ain't bad. I've heard that somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's been a great run. I mean, no complaints. Yeah.
Boys, you got something for Adam, either on, what's happened over the last couple of months this past weekend, or as we look forward to October.
Yeah. So, Adam, I have for you, I love the dart stuff, but I also love kind of the off the line things. We've had a lot of conversations about your career outside of darts, and it's just so interesting to me. You're the Reaper. Explain to the audience, what do you do for a living outside of darts?
I work in the funeral industry. Yeah, I work in the funeral industry. I don't want to go into much detail about it, but
well, no, but
you know,
you do everything,
had some conversations
right?
there in New York. Yeah, and you know, we serve the families. Yeah.
And
Adam doesn't have a lot of
darts,
problems with his people talking back at his job. Let's just put it that way.
Would you say that darts then becomes a de-stressor for you? It's a weekend away from the stress that you have kind of on a weekly basis?
On a weekend like last weekend, that was not a de-stressor by any means. uh, but yeah, because I love the game of darts. For me, I love to play it. You know, sometimes like this past weekend was, like I said, it wasn't a de-stressor, that's for sure. But no matter, it's like a love-hate. You know, I love playing the game no matter what. Work, there's always stress at work. Dealing with families, some difficult than others. But it could be a stressor and a de-stressor at times. So.
Pete?
How do you view obviously you came in 2021, you win an event from a qualifier, you put your name on the map, right? How do you view, now that you have a card, coming into this year, do you approach any differently being a card holder than being a qualifier? Different feeling?
No different. I go into every event with the mindset, I'm going to win. Whether that happens or not, I mean, we don't know that, but I mean, for me, your mindset is everything before you walk in the door. But no, nothing's going to change. Whether I come in as a qualifier or have my card or need to get my card again, it's still going to be the same no matter what.
And you probably feel like you have some unfinished business, given that you fall just short of the alley pally spot. And we talked a little bit after the last event. That's really is what. To be fair, which player is that dream not, right? Does not have that dream. So the Continental Cup, a lot riding on it for you. What are you looking forward to the most going into that event?
Just picking up where I left off, winning. Like I said, the darts have been going good, so obviously I want to win the Continental Cup. There's a lot of opportunities. If you win that, Grand Slam, back to Madison Square Garden. So yeah, I'm gonna approach it the same way. Like we spoke, Peter, last week. I don't really have a routine. I'm here at my buddy's house. When I go home, I'll probably start throwing darts when I get home until I go to bed. That's just really all I do. So really no different. I just got to keep doing the same thing that I've been doing all year, and hopefully it works out.
And in the Continental Cup, of course, this year you've got a chance to go to the PDC Grand Slam. So there's even more opportunities in on stake in Philadelphia. So give us, when you walk into a CDC room now, what's the change been since 2021? Maybe there hasn't been any, but in 21 you walk in as a qualifier. I don't know how many people know you, but you walk into Indianapolis in weekend 5 after the summer that you've had that we talked about. I'm sure everybody knows who Adam Sevada is. So what's that dynamic for you as a player, seeing some big names on this continent right next to you on the practice board?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, when I first walked into Philadelphia back in 21, the first person to greet me was Baggish, and he kind of yelled and told the whole room to be quiet because I was there.
Uh-oh.
He hadn't seen me in a while, but I know probably 90% of the players there, 80%. I've been playing for competitively 18 years, total 22 years. It's just I think the CDC crew, really wasn't aware of me until then. But no, I mean, you got the best of the players there in the North American continent. And yeah, like I knew everybody there, so I felt comfortable. I felt fine.
Yeah, and we try and do our homework, but I mean that is right. We don't know every single player, and that's why we've tried to build this machine that continues to churn and picks up the best talent that we can. It gives an opportunity to come on board, compete with the best, and then walk in like, I absolutely belong here with shoulder to shoulder with the best on the continent. Let me go straight to production. Do we have any questions for Mr. Sevada or any complimentary comments that we can give? And while we're waiting for those, do you guys have any follow-ups? Peter first, maybe? Or what do you got?
Actually, Sean, I saw you had kind of thought you might have had something. I monopolized it a little earlier. If you have something, go ahead.
No, that's totally fine. Heading into the season, Adam, sponsorship-wise, there's not a whole lot going on for you in the moment. Then you get the U.S. Darts Masters spot. Just tell us about how that part of the experience has been from you, gaining sponsors like throughout this year, and the difficulty or the excitement of that.
Wasn't very difficult as far as the sponsorship goes, but ever since the U.S. Masters, a lot of doors have opened up. Talking with people, being on WhatsApp Messenger at 3:00 in the morning with the England guys over there with the whole darts. It's just I don't want to say it's been overwhelming, but just a lot has been presented to me in a short amount of time. Nothing wrong with it. I'm grateful for every opportunity that's been given, that's been there. Red Dragon, jumped on board with them. DJD jerseys with Garfinkel, local guy from California, Mr. Paps. So yeah, it's been great. I mean, no complaints.
But that really does need to be noted that's where this goes. Players out there need to understand that with the work and the dedication and the commitment, when you achieve, there's a payoff to it. There's a road to go. You get yourself on stage at the theater at MSG. You just said doors open up. We've got a comment here from Tom Ottaviano. The year Sevada has had starting on the main starting the summer on the main stage at MSG, multiple CDC wins. Tom thinks you are going to make a deep run in the Continental Cup, and I can't argue with that at all. Anything else from Mr. Sevada?
I want to talk a little bit about MSG. So obviously there's something about being in the room with the best North America has to offer, and there's some different level being in the room with the best the world has to offer. What's your biggest takeaway from that experience as a player?
You know what? My biggest takeaway from that, if I had to, oh man, it's kind of a tough question because I felt really comfortable there. People have asked me, what it was like being in the room with the PDC guys. I felt really comfortable listening to Stowe's last interview, maybe a couple of podcasts ago. I don't remember exactly when. Like you said, the camaraderie. You're just there, relaxing. It's almost like going to family barbecue. Everybody's just relaxing, talking. Not many darts being thrown, except obviously when you have to go up on stage. But as far as taking anything from there, the only thing I could say is the PDC guys, they're just like us. They're just ordinary guys, and and that was really it. I was very comfortable there. Yeah, it was good.
So we saw on our screens, Robert Cox says, "Go Adam," cheering you on from Prescott, Arizona. So right there in your neck of the woods, lots of support for Adam Sevada. So before we let Adam go, give us your feelings and perspective. We're going into the Continental Cup now. Let's squarely look at Philadelphia. You touched on it in your interview that, that's where the first CDC magic happened. Not only just in, it was a couple of days shy of the exact date you're winning that first CDC trophy. Now you're going back to that very same room. how does the Reaper feel going into the Continental Cup Tour Finals Championship?
I'm feeling good. Just like any other day. Any other day I play darts, whether it's competition or at home. Like I said, I'm going to do the same thing I've always done. Just throw my darts and hopefully they land well. And we'll see what happens from there.
Pete, we'll tease a little now. Everything is subject to change. We may have some, and as the tournament director, you need to give us some direction if we've got any changes in the field, anything that we could touch on. But as of right now, Adam's going in as what, the 4 seed, if memory serves right? Do you have that? If
Adam
not, I can
is going in as the 4 seed. That is correct.
As the 4, right? So if things stood today, his opponent would be on Friday night.
Joey Lenoir.
Joey Lenoir, correct.
Oh, all right. So there's Mr. Sevada. He marches out of the desert to take on the East Coast boy on the Eastern Seaboard. So that's a tasty.
That's always a tough match for the crowd. There's going to be a lot of Joey Lenoir supporters in the audience there, so you might want to pack a couple of your biggest fans in your suitcase, Adam, and bring them out with you.
Yeah, I played Joey. It was the day I won there in Philadelphia. I think I played him in the semifinals, maybe, or the quarterfinals. So yeah, I played him once before.
So we've got a question. Pete, Adam has not yet been on the Modus, I don't believe, right? And if not, would you welcome it? Would you want to go over to play Modus?
Yeah, it's been, I've talked about it. I do plan on going over there to play the Modus. And then the next thing right now that I know I said I'm going to do, but obviously, it's something I really need to think about with work and all that, is Q School, PDC Q School. The entries just opened up, so I'm really thinking about that. I'm leaning more towards it, so I still have a little bit of time to thinking about it, but I think I'll be going over there for that.
The experience you pick up in that room, Adam, I know you've got a ton of experience under your belt. You've been around for a long time, but that room, the pressure, you learn a lot about yourself. Even people that are at the top of their game learn a lot about themselves in that room.
Yeah.
Sean, any last questions for Adam before we let him go?
Man, I'm excited for your success. It's really cool to see. Someone said it right in the chat. You are great for our tour. You're a great proponent of our game, and I appreciate your friendship more than anything else. But I really need you. You got to go to Q School, man. You're so good on floor events too. The averages are just always consistently there. You're going to be a pain in everyone's butt if you go over there this year. And I think that you'll learn that about yourself more than anything else. So hopefully you get the shot to do it and that you are able to take advantage of it. If not, that field just got a lot easier without you in it.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Adam, for joining us. We want to congratulate you again, the Win More Darts Masters and the CDC Judgment Day winner. 2 events out of 3 as we left Indianapolis, and he's going into Philadelphia as your number 4 seed for the Continental Cup. Before we do let you go, is there anybody that you would like to say hello to? Any sponsor shout outs or fans or family?
Just want to say thank you to all the, family, everybody supporting me, friends back at home, everywhere. Obviously my, sponsors, Red Dragon, DJD, best jerseys out there, Mr. Luke Paps, and last but not least, my coworkers at work, especially my boss. If it wasn't for him, a lot of me being on the tour this year would not happen. He's allowed me time off, and he's been very flexible. So I thank him and all my coworkers there for everything that they've done, all the support.
Absolutely.
And
so once again, thank you very much.
The CDC crew, because without the CDC, none of this would be possible.
I'll hold back for that one. Thanks. Appreciate it, Adam.
Thanks,
Thank
Adam.
you so very much. We're thrilled. Always a pleasure to hand a great guy like you trophies. And congratulations again on two wins.
Thank
and
you.
Best of luck with the upcoming Continental Cup.
Thank you.
Adam Sevada, everybody.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to do a little transition. I think we've got a little video. I'm going to throw Jeff a curveball. Let's see, is that Continental Cup video? Give me a head nod if you got it. All right, get ready for an electrifying weekend as the 2024 CDC Continental Cup presented by Cosmo Darts heads to the Columbia Social Club in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on October 18th and 19th. Tickets on sale now at champdarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just have to point this out. You just witnessed a live ad read with a video playing in the foreground. That might be the coolest thing I've seen. And you crushed it too. Didn't miss a single line. That was grossly good.
Stop it. All right, boys. So that was pretty cool. Give me, before, let's see, I'm reading my notes. Of course, we're going to do some Continental Cup and we're going to hear from the players that did make it to the World Championships, and we'll go over that. But anything now that we've said goodbye to Adam that you have as a sort of follow-up to that discussion with Adam and the overall weekend 5?
He's
outside of the exact guys and their interviews and stuff, of course.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see him have that coming out party. I think that's just the story of the weekend. Obviously, the World Championship, that's going to get played over and over again. We'll talk about that ad nauseum going into December. But this, just seeing, couldn't happen, like I said, to a nicer guy. The interesting thing now is going to be 2025. I said, in all respects, I believe this is his freshman year. Do we see him continue to maintain the high level? Does he have a sophomore slump? That's something to think about, right? A la Jake McMillan, who had a bit of a slump this year. Again, we all know he's a world-class player. He's going to come back better than ever. We know that's going to happen. He's too good for it not to. But it's tough when you come in and you make that name for yourself and you get on top. You got a bullseye on your back. It's a totally different feel than, say, coming through as, back in when we did the qualifiers, coming through as a qualifier where there's no expectation.
And the time commitments too. What is it? Do we see him struggle to make 3-4 weekends? Is it, is he there for the full slate? And obviously a player of that caliber, that makes a big difference. He's there, he's winning stuff, he's gaining points, he's those big seeds and big numbers.
Yep. Yeah,
no doubt. And sorry, go ahead, Sean.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say the crazy thing for me is where he lives. He doesn't have, the Phoenix area is great darters, but he lives pretty good distance outside of that area. And there's really not anyone for him to play steel tip darts with in that area. So he literally plays at home and practices at home. That's how he does his thing. He doesn't really practice a whole lot. It's throw for an hour or so and go to bed. And I think that might help him a lot because he's not going to overthink anything with his game. But it also might hurt to not have that off season where he can go and continue to sharpen those tools, so to speak, if that makes sense.
And for the overall weekend in general, we touched on it earlier, but there was some really good achievements for the guys that don't grab a lot of headlines. Chris Caldwell sets a new floor, making a huge run on Friday. And again, comes back down to earth on Saturday because that's just what happens. You achieve that. And it's like, oh my God, look what I did.
In those rooms, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then it's real tough, especially at your first time there, to come back and do it again. But that's what I call leveling up. He's put in a new floor. He knows what he's capable of. Gino Florian, same situation. Rob Ethington getting a win against David Cameron. Actually, Rob played great all weekend. Brian Fenlon, some of those names that you don't hear a lot of, and they're journeymen. They're toiling down around the 32 mark. That's big for them, especially in the last weekend of a year, because now you're in the off season. Now hey, I want to get back because I know what I can do. I show what I can do, and I can't wait for 2025. And I think that's we'd be remiss if we didn't give those guys a little bit of attention here.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, these are players that are putting in a lot of time, a lot of monetary investment, and really working hard. So it's a big piece of the puzzle to have players like you talked about, not just a little bit of prize money, some points for the next year, but to leave with that drive in their mouth, that taste of achievement. And I can't wait to get back at this as the new year rolls around.
My favorite line of the weekend, Chris Caldwell on Friday night comes out of his match, or going into his quarterfinal match, looks around the room and he goes, "So this is what it looks like when only the good players are left."
Wow.
Well, only the top players are left, as we read. But yeah, I mean, you
I know what he meant. That I didn't mean it as I meant I know what that assessment is. I'm not at the restaurant having a cheeseburger.
Exactly. You're in the top 8. Literally, there's only 8 guys left. Everybody else is gone. They're having dinner. They're out seeing the town, and you're there just like there's tumbleweeds rolling through the floor.
We could
time
fit
we get a
all
chance
you
to get
guys
our
in a
work done.
good-sized SUV. I mean, there's not many of you left.
Exactly. Let's go have a steak.
Oh, so before we go to the World Championships, we want to remind everybody to subscribe to the CDC newsletter. I think we've got a graphic possibly that there's a QR code. If not, give me a thumbs down, Jeff, if we don't have the graphic. All right, no graphic, but no worries. So you can find the CDC newsletter information on champdarts.com and plus on our social media platforms. I think we've got it pinned on Twitter and Facebook. So there's a QR code and like our headers and stuff. So you can sign up to the newsletter and you can keep up to date on not only the Continental Cup tickets coming up, but, as event info, stuff from our sponsors, events and things coming up. So please sign up for the newsletter. All right. Now let's go to the, probably biggest storyline of the weekend. We can't lie about that, right? As much as we want some other storylines to, hold some weight as well, like that last weekend, it's about the World Championships, right? So we saw Leonard Gates come in, big lead. We thought he was almost untouchable. Doesn't have a great weekend, but when you win, 3 events prior, make, seemingly nothing less than a quarterfinal all season long, he finishes up as the overall 1 seed. He wins the Jay Tomlinson trophy, and that gets him an invitation to register for PDCQ school. We heard Adam Sevada talking about going. So now Leonard Gates gets a chance to register straight into phase 2. And for those unfamiliar with the process, at PDCQ school, it's an open entry, but you have to go through nearly a week-long process just to qualify for phase 2. And then in phase 2, is that the final list, Pete? That is the final list, correct? Yeah.
Yes,
Yep, that's the final. This is the final list coming out of weekend 5. So Gates holds on to the number 1 and earns his spot not only at that PDCQ school. He's the number 1 overall seed in the Continental Cup, and he earns the spot
towards the bottom there. There's a little discrepancy at the bottom of that graphic,
okay.
But
all right. So we'll keep advisement that the official list is up on champdarts.com, but we're going to talk about some of the top players, and then Pete has the list, so we can we'll use this as well to talk about the Continental Cup in a few minutes. But Jeff, if you have it, let's go to Gates talking about going to the World Championship.
I got it. Gates, here we go, Mr. Gates.
We were able
First time I went, it was a great experience, and I told myself then I definitely want to come back. And it took me all this time to get back there, but hey, I'm back again. I'm going to approach it with more confidence, more persistence, more accuracy, and hopefully my darts will take me further than I did last time I was there.
So Gates goes in as your USA representative. Jim Long finishes the year tied with Gates, but by tiebreak, Leonard keeps that. But Jim Long overtakes David Cameron in, what we watched a battle kind of unfold over the past 3 weekends. I was looking up, Jim had wins at the Bash at the Border, and he had the A to Z Darts Trophy and 2 runners up in Indianapolis, and he finishes as the Canadian representative going to the World Championship. And we caught up with Jim as well. So let's go to Jim.
If you saw my interview after the first time I was there, I said I think everybody should get a chance to go. And then Matt and Dave kind of hogged it since then. So I'm really glad to have pulled the spot back.
I knew I was going to get caught taking a sip of water. And then additionally this year, as we did last year, based on what happened at the North American Championships, Matt Campbell earning that title was then ineligible to go to the World Championship. So the PDC extended that spot to us as sort of a wild card. So it was going to go to the next highest ranked player, right? And in a way, it's almost like the next eligible player that's not already, I know Pete's verbiage, that's not already qualified.
Not otherwise qualified. Matt's not ineligible for the World Championship. He was ineligible to go through the CDC. Through that
North means, yes, yeah. That's right. Yeah, as via that road. Yes, Sean.
I was going to say, we talked about the storylines, right? Stowe Bunt's getting that third spot. He also was playing Matt Campbell in the final of the North American Darts Championship for the spot in the Worlds already. So he actually, if he would have lost that match and then lost to Alex Spellman, he would have been one of those two matches would have got him a spot at the World Championship. Might have been a little bit harder for him to overcome mentally to not get through either of those. So I actually am really happy that he ended up getting that third spot based off of that.
So we touched on it earlier. It was a scenario where he was facing Spellman in the semifinals, and Stowe needed that win to go into the final. He got that, and that put him in to a revisit to the World Championship. So let's hear from Stowe.
It means a lot. It means a lot. I hope to represent the CDC better than I did last year, and I think if I go into the Worlds with a better mindset than I did last year, a little better practice regime, go there and honestly concentrate on myself and my game, I think I can make a deep run. I really do.
So, boys, we've got Gates, we've got Long, and we've got Bunch going to the World Championships. We've got, it was Cameron, in a way, Cameron, Spellman, Sevada, just on the outside looking in. So, give me your take on that. Pete was the one who got a chance to speak to those three. And then also you've both had the opportunity, as I did last year, my first time, of going to the World Championship. So let the people know a little bit what an amazing, experience that is, as a spectator, and also what it feels like to see these guys that we know that we helped put up there on that stage. Pete.
Yeah, for me, the World Championship is a business trip, so it's I don't enjoy it like I would if I was there as a fan, but there's always a huge sense of pride when you see the people that you've sent over there get up on that stage. It's extra special the first time. All the three players we're sending this year have experience on the stage, which actually I think is going to turn into a great net positive. I've said it before. I say it in every interview. People stick a mic in my face, talk to me about the World Championship. There is nothing on this planet that will prepare you for the first time you step on the World Championship stage.
Yep.
Nothing. Anybody that's been there will tell you that same thing. And so you've got guys now that are even Stowe, who made the legendary run in the Grand Slam last year. The World Championship hits different, and you know how you're going to react to you're actually up there playing, right? Jim Long got himself a win, right? He beat Mickey Mansell, Leonard Gates into the second round. Stowe, I know he had put a lot of pressure on himself last year. He's the first match, on, and he played, and he did not perform as well as he wanted to. He'll tell you that. So he now gets a chance to go back, avenge the disappointment, and get himself, into the later rounds. Obviously the draw's not out yet. We'd love to. You're always looking for a favorable draw. Not that there's an easy draw in that room, but you're still looking for, you want to set yourself up that you can get a win or two under your belt before you get walloped by, the you have to face the guys who are
Nobody,
in the
Pete.
top.
Nobody's getting walloped. We've got a Gates long bunts.
It's
3 out of
final.
4 in the semis. Yes, Pete. Yes.
I don't use the term walloped as in they're going to get decimated by them. But
Understood.
That's like you walk in and your first match is against the former Luke Humphreys. Your first match happens to be against Luke Humphreys. You're playing on night one. That's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. I'm sorry.
It's a little tougher start out of the gates than probably 67 other options that you could have. Yes,
exactly. I mean, I love Mickey Mantle, but I'll take Mickey Mantle over Luke Humphreys any day of the year, right? And anybody who says otherwise is lying to you.
So would Mickey Mantle. So Sean, give me a quickie on those guys going, World Championship stuff, and then I've got some follow-ups too.
Yeah, I love it. I love the fact that they're going in improved, right? You have Leonard Gates, who last time he was there, 2023, he's done a lot to work on that math, to work on the consistency of the math, and with his scoring power, that's going to be scary for anyone who draws him in the first round. That is not a good draw. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're ranked 33rd in the world. You're not getting a good draw by drawing Leonard Gates in round one. You're just really not. Jim Long, again, now with that experience of being overseas, that experience of just the psychological aspect of the game that he now has, I think that makes him a dangerous person over there. A more consistent player that's had a lot of success now, going to Modus and doing all that. And then Stowe last year, let's be honest, he had a giant group of people with him that he was entertaining a lot of time. He didn't ever complain about any of that, and I want to make that perfectly clear to anyone who was there. But I could just that puts an extra weight on you, right? More people are over there just to cheer for you to win your match, and you're playing night one. You have to think about, do I have a change of clothes if I have to play Michael Smith later in the night with my Neon Nightmare moniker? And now you're thinking ahead to things that you should never have to think ahead to. So I think coming into this year, him being able to he mentioned in his interview, go over there for himself, his small group that I'm sure he's still going to take, but definitely not the craziness that was there last year. And I think that's going to help him with that year under his belt on how to really prepare. I'm excited for that group of 3. I think it's a great group to send over there, and I think they're going to represent us very well.
I fully concur with both of you guys that I think in each and every case of those 3 players, we're going to see. I don't want to say improved. I'm trying to get the right word. Little more. It's going to be a little bit more to their game and persona as they hit that stage. With Jim Long, the experience and the wins that he's had in Modus and the seniors, and what he's done now CDC as he's done, but he's sort of ramped it up a little bit with Gates. Again, same thing. That seniors experience, experience that he's had, on stage at MSG, and then Stowe. To me, even this year feels like on the CDC a little bit more of a professional maturation. We've done games, you and I, Sean, where we watched him work around the board, get out of problems sometimes, and really have, I think, a progressed year. So, yeah, I too am very excited about the prospects of seeing them manage that stage in a different way than we did before. Pete.
Look, I'm happy it's those 3. I love every one of them. I think they're all going to represent us wonderfully. But let's, again, stop for a second and reminisce to when everybody wanted to draw the North American, right? Not that they weren't good players, but we didn't have a circuit back then. You were going off of a qualifier. You were stepping on the stage, and people wanted to kind of face you in the first round just because you didn't have the experience under your belt, and you were probably gonna, because of that, be a little gun shy. Now look at the top 10 we've got now. All right, I'm going to read them to you. Leonard Gates, Jim Long, Stowe Bunce, Adam Sevada, David Cameron, Alex Spellman, Jacob Taylor, Jake Womack, Gary Mawson, Doug Boehm. Pick me one of those 10 that you want to face in the first round of a world championship. You can't, because they're all capable. That's the thing that I think we need to shout from the rooftops. The system works when you let the system work.
And they've all got experience, different varying experiences, from PDC World Championship stages to, U.S. Master stages to the little sprinkle of UK Open experiences in there. But Modus experience, big time experiences, those 10, to your point, I'm not worried if we put all 10 of those in a bag and you pull out the 3 or 4 that get to go play in the World Championship, right? We all excited. Or none of those 10 do we say, I'm not sure if they have the experience or if they're ready yet. They're all ready. They're all ready for it.
And that's just the top 10. I can argue that there's plenty that are further down the list that I'd be happy to trot out there and see up on that stage too.
And we will. We'll quickly go into the players that qualified for the Cup, and then we'll do for everybody, viewers out there, when we lock in things a little more, we'll come back to you and have a true Continental Cup preview. But so Sean, anything in that same vein of what Peter was talking about with the maturation of the circuit and its players and et cetera?
It's weird because when I went to the U.S. Darts Masters my first time 3 years ago, I'm just happy to be there. I'm happy to cheer on my North American friends and see some players that I've gotten to call matches for on the stage at Madison Square Garden. That's really cool for me. This past year, that first night, I actually left angry. I was actually upset. I was very mad at the fact that we lost 7 of the 8 matches because I just fully expected us not to have to not doing that. It was way below the standard that I think that we should have been at. And that's against their top 8 players. That's how I'm thinking about this now. It's crazy that I would be upset for them losing to those guys. But I really felt upset. You can ask my wife, like I had to walk it off after I left the venue for a bit. It was a weird feeling. Yeah, I was not happy. And again, super, I'm excited that I have that feeling with those guys. And it's not just because I know them, and it's because I've seen them perform at the highest level that it can match those highest levels. And that's why I'm excited to see anyone who goes over to compete now. It's exciting to watch. It's not like oh man, I hope they don't mess this up. It's, man, I'm excited to watch them potentially beat some people and shock the world.
They have the potential, but you used the word which was one of the first hurdle for us. I say us as in the CDC, North America, it's player-based, the whole thing was the compete word. We're competing now, and that's what we saw in MSG. Yes, we've talked about not just behind the scenes, but also publicly, that it is about time now for the W's. It is now. Yep. That's our next step, is to get multiple players on a regular basis making these, going to the World Championships and Grand Slams and whatnot, and getting 1 or 2 wins. It's we need to now not just compete, but it is very satisfying to know that we are competing. And I'll give you a little safety valve there, Sean, because I know exactly where you're coming from. I just listened to an interview. I'll give them a little plug too, because they were giving us a plug this week. Phil Bars and the Online Darts Live Lounge crew. Yep. Phil caught up with Matt Porter, CEO of the PDC, and he was talking about an assessment on this year's World Series events and how regions did and everything. And he said, listen, in all fairness, we're asking regional players coming from either some places don't have too much infrastructure. Some have semi-pro structures, and that might be us. But they were being put up this year, and this year real specific as well, against 8, the true like almost 1 to 8 down in the rankings, right? The players coming off the Premier League, as he put it, players who are playing against each other, pushing themselves to an extremely high level that, on a bad day, I think what number he threw out, Pete, because you nodded your head that you were, it was like, 94, 98, something like that, so that made me feel well that at least the powers that be have some perspective on that we're competing. It is time for some W's, but in the perspective of who they had to play. All fairness,
You stole my thunder with that, because I was going to bring up the exact same thing. That interview was great with Matt for a number of reasons. But you get spoiled when you watch these guys start pouring in 100 averages, and they do it on the regular now on our tour.
Yep.
But again, it's a different feeling when you're doing it in front of 3,000 people, and you're playing the number 3 player in the world, rather than doing it in front of 36 people on a floor event when you're playing the number 2 in the CDC. I'm not taking anything away from what we put together, folks. The fact that we're having this conversation tells you where we are and how far we've come. The fact that we're even talking about it in this context is proof positive again that what we do works. But I was really happy and I've had some conversations with Matt also privately on that, and I was really happy to hear him say things like say that publicly, because you look at the affiliates, and they ran through it in that same interview. Australia, very disappointing this year. Australia's kind of been in a weird place. Asia, fantastic tour in Asia, right? They're on the upswing. Even some of the Europe tours, right? Looking at where Nordic and Baltic is, I put our guys up against any of those other associate tours. PDC Europe, we can set them aside because they're PDC Europe, and the big guys play there.
Yeah, that's a different animal.
You can't mention exactly. You can't mention it in the same context. But any other one of those affiliate tours, if we are ever going to do that event that we got drawn up.
That's where I was going to go, and I was just going to flat out and say, hey, if somebody wants to write the check, I mean, you've got Asia, you've got Australia, New Zealand, you've got us, and you've got Nordic Baltic, 4 groups, 4 players from each round robin, 16. We can put on a worldwide PDC affiliate contest and square it out, and everybody plays off for it. It would be, we have it, it's ready. It just needs the check. But you got it, Citera. I'm going into that event very confident right now. Might not have always been the case, but I'll take right here, right now in 2024. Right,
100%.
Sean.
Well, I was going to say, we talk about how great the Asian tour has been this year, and we saw their players have success at the World Championship, and there's been obviously some rumblings in our Facebook feeds and stuff like that about how great that tour is. Their average for an event is about 5 points lower than our average for an event, comparatively speaking. They have those top guys like Asado and Hugo and those guys, but we do too. We have those same type of averages up at the top. We're just, I'd say that we're stronger stacked from top to bottom based on the averages alone for an entire event. It's actually, I went back and looked just to see what all the fuss and noise was about. And I was like, I feel pretty good about us compared to those other tours. And I would take us. I mean, I would easily kind of take us. It'd be tough, but I think it'd be a great battle. I think that'd be a lot of fun to figure out how to do that.
I would too, but in fairness to Asia, they're also pulling from 20 countries. We're pulling from 2.
Right.
And
well, for sure.
When you're doing that, you've got the top guys coming over with their buddy, and their buddies are playing, and that's gonna skew your average a little bit. But Sean, I want to go a little deeper. I'll go into the weeds just for 2 minutes here. That's
Please.
Part of the reason when people talk about why did you get rid of the qualifiers? How could you get rid of the qualifiers? It's insane that you got rid of the qualifier. Simply put, you just hit on why we got rid of the qualifiers. Because now in that room, you've got conceivably there's no easy match. And I recognize we got the associates, who, by the way, that has been a fantastic boon. We can talk about that later if you want. That was
it's huge success.
I'm going to shout that from the rooftops. But at the end of the day, we've leveled up the averages in large part because we've moved away from the qualifiers, keeping it into a tight locked system that you have to at least get some skin in the game to be able to participate in. And I think you're seeing that in the results.
Sean.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Joe, from the top, even the top down, right? You'd still have. I was even like, all right, maybe that's the case with these averages. But if you put a top 10 for an event for us, and you put a top 10 event for the Asian Tour, it's very comparable, if not favoring one over the other, just depending on what event it is. But that all being said, you're right. It is a testament, first of all, to your guys' decision making to do that, because I think it has sharpened the iron in the room and made everyone perform better, 100%. And then the Associates Tour add-on has been, it was honestly, it was a bit of a gamble to try and do that, and it has paid off in droves. It was really cool to see how many players accepted invites for the entire tour season, pretty much. Davey Main, I mean, he became a tough draw in the first round near the second half of the season.
Nathan Humphreys,
absolutely. I mean, it was really cool. I even got to see my friend Jacob, a local indie player, drew Leonard Gates twice in the 3 days that he had to play him. And each day I'm like, I'm telling you right now, bud, for all the Americans that are behind Leonard, you are a fan favorite in that room. Just because they want to stay close to Leonard, and you have that best opportunity to do so. But it was really cool to see, and to also get to know those guys. And I think that you're going to see a lot of those Associates Tour players end up with tour cards next year, running through Q schools, because if you've played in our CDC events, those Q schools are going to seem so much easier, comparatively speaking.
So we had a quick comment from a man on our stats team who would know the numbers and to make this statement. Mark Lacombe says the championship dart circuit is the toughest room on the continent. And quite honestly, I mean, that's what we set out to do. So hopefully we've accomplished that in the decade. And before I'll go to Pete in a second. We'll do the associates. Let us know what that was, what it is, and how it played out. And then we'll promo some tickets, talk about the cup, and then we'll get going. But I just want to echo in a way Sean's thing and set Pete up. It was really in a very delightful way, surprised to see how those affiliate. I got it wrong, Pete. It's associate.
Yep,
associate players. The associate players. Well, that has a whole story in it itself, and we won't bore you with that. But
yes, it does.
The associates players off the associates list, the way that they responded, the engagement, the excitement to get in that room and compete. And once they did, there may have been some of these guys, and if they do, I truly fear for them, and I would want to talk to them. But I wasn't aware of anybody that was like, that was miserable, I'm completely deflated, or I wasn't welcome, and I'm sorry for the experience. I'm less for it. I saw the opposite. Players that were like, I was thrilled to get in here, thrilled to compete. Now my desire to get that tour card is ratcheted up even more, and I was thrilled that I got to play this summer. So Pete, give us and the folks a sort of wrap up on what the associates list is.
So the associates list is made up of people who play in CDCQ schools and or CDC Summer Series events. Remember, their Summer Series events are open to anybody, and as are the Q schools, unless they're Q schools. Obviously, if you're a card holder, you can't play the Q school. But
for listeners, when do the Q school events take place? And obviously, Summer Series is a little bit in the name, but just to give people an idea of when these events take place.
Yeah. So our Q School series will start, and this is for some of you who have messaged me. I get a kick. I'll mention his name. Tyler Reddy has been in my DMs about multiple times looking for the Q School schedule. So I've been kind of pressuring Anthony, and we got to get this done. But we'll start, in November. Our first Q School will be the Buckeye Open. And we typically try to have, 10. We'd love to have 16 Q schools. It hasn't played out that way, but we have 10 to 12 solid opportunities in the later part of this year, 24, into the early part of 2025. So that's your way to win a card on the tour. Okay. And so if you get a card, you can play, you get the right to enter into the events, any event you want to play in, the main event. And then if we do not fill a bracket of 64 with just card holders, then we go to the associates list, who are people who did not acquire a card at Q School. And the only way you can get those associates points is by playing in a Q School and or the Summer Series events. And so the Q School points from last year are going to roll off at this point. So if you only played Q School last year, you didn't play any Summer Series, you're going back to 0. If you played Summer Series, those are going to remain on your, we call it the Associates Order of Merit, the Associates list, up until the year is up from when you earn those points. Then they will roll off, and you'll have to compete in a 2025 Summer Series event to replace those points. And then we go in order of priority. And the guys at the top of the list got a chance to partake in every weekend except the first one. Everybody wants to play the first one. The buzz is there. Everybody wants to get the rust off, see their buddies again. You've got the qualifiers, the PDC US Darts Masters qualifiers. So there's just demand for our cardholders show up in mass. But every other weekend we've had at least a couple of vacancies, and we filled them. And the associates, I spent a lot of time talking to them because it was one of the things I was most worried about and nervous about, was how this was going to play out. And again, Ann, I'll echo what you said, 100%. They are all in. Like, this is great. Yeah, I may have just gotten my butt kicked by Leonard Gates or what have you. Hell, Steve Krikorian almost beats Leonard Gates in Niagara Falls, right? So they're realizing that, hey, I can, on a good day, I can play here, and if I get better, then I belong here. And that's what you need. You need that to be your next group of tour card holders. Obviously, we're doing something for North America, the Continental Cup, and we want the best players in North America to play against each other. But the end goal is that we do want we're not the top darts in the world, right? We're the top darts in North America. We're probably arguably the most prestigious non-PDC or PDC affiliate tour. I'll throw that out there. But we always want guys to move on. And there has to be another group of guys that are coming through behind them. And that's the thought behind the associates. And I was tickled to see the way they came out.
So we'll transition. Thank you, Peter. And that was really one of the exciting developments that happened over the year, because we did get word, and it's one of those things where we should look back that we responded to voices out there that we were told that players who had fallen short of the CDC of a CDC tour card in the CDCQ schools would play if they got the opportunity. Well, I'll publicly say you were right. It was true. It was correct. And the players responded brilliantly. And Peter Citera crafted the whole system, and it worked out wonderfully. So let's hope that continues to a certain degree in that, we'll keep massaging it. We want more straight up tour card holders to play, right? But we also want to continue to give people an opportunity to come and compete. Because there also was, and I don't believe anybody finished top 32, correct, Pete? But those associates, if they finished top 32, they would then earn a card. And I know Davey Main in particular, there were guys that were tracking that. That was they were shooting for that.
Yeah, Davey Main finishes 39th, and 39th. He finishes with 17 points. So he was 3 points off of getting a card outright.
Okay. And so, as I think Sean touched on it, you're going to see some ferocious players in the upcoming Q School series, and Pete touched on that. We're working on putting that together, and we'll have that out soon. Somebody just KJ's giving us a comment. That Peter Cetera guy's pretty smart. Yes, he is. I think he's utterly brilliant. Just to give him a proper shout out, and it ties together a little bit what you were just commenting on. A true good shout out to our friends at Online Darts. On Monday, they had a good show, talked about CDC, talked about the system. So thanks to Phil Bars, Jack Garwood, and Dan Simpson, our friends over at Online Darts. And they touched on what you talked about, Pete, that, not only building here the productive and vibrant circuit, majors with prize money, prestigious titles, but we want to see players go then play on the worldwide stage, be known as true professionals. And, we've got Matt Campbell there right now, Danny Lauby, Jules Van Dongen. We very much want that. We're not in a greedy mode. We want to see those players move forth, open up space for developing players to come on behind. And if it all worked correctly, then you get that positive churn. You get those positive inspirations about where players have gone. And in that same discussion, you touched on it with Mr. Porter, but the Australia idea, that's what kept Australia really vibrant for a while, was the Kyle Andersons and Simon Whitlocks and Corey for a short time, and Damon Hedda. You need to see guys go, perform well, and become true professionals, and that inspires everybody behind you. So with that down, now let's promo one more time. Get ready for an electrifying weekend as the 2024 CDC Continental Cup, presented by Cosmo Darts, heads to the Columbia Social Club in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on October 18th and 19th. Tickets on sale now at champdarts.com. So let's take a quick look, if you will, Jeff. Bring up that points list again. Pete, let us know any discrepancies, but we should be able to discuss quickly the players who did qualify. Right. So
yes, and everything's great there. It's that Rick Allred is
1 to 16. So we touched on earlier as we opened the show. In reality, when you did a true analysis, down to 14, Larry Butler, everybody was pretty much in. So as it stands right now, and then we'll talk about the fight at the end there. So right now going in, you've got 1 Leonard Gates, 2 Jim Long, 3 Stowe Bunts, 4 Adam Sevada, 5 David Cameron, 6 Alex Spellman, 7 Jacob Taylor, 8 Jake Womack, 9 Gary Mawson, 10 Doug Boehm, 11 Jeff Springer, 12 Steve Warnock, 13 Joey Lanaugh, 14 Larry Butler. Okay. And then coming in now, 15 Jeff Smith, 16 John Part. And if you guys want to touch on, we can touch on I think the true greatness of that field. And then also the little mini race that coming into the weekend, Smith and Dave Richardson were sitting there 15, 16. I think it was, well, they didn't play, so Jeff was 33, 35 and 33, and you had players anywhere from like 26 to 28, right? So there was 5-6 points of work that needed to take place for guys like John Part, Jack Robinson, Lindbergh, Allred, Sean Mitchell, and I'm probably leaving 1 or 2 out, not in a disrespectful way. So, Pete, I'll go to Pete first. Give me either on that race in or the players that qualified already.
Yeah, there's 2 things that stand out to me in that list, and that's that Gary Mawson has never missed a Continental Cup. Larry Butler has only missed 1 Continental Cup, and it's because he was within an inch of dying the year he had the heart attack, and he only missed 1 weekend that year. Like,
yeah, right.
You want to give a shout out to a guy that's dedicated, right? I mean, you literally are that close to not being here anymore. It's like, yeah, I want to go back and play more darts, man. So, and he came close to qualifying for the Cup that year. So, yeah, those are the 2 things that stand out to me. You heard me talk about the top 10. I don't need to go and relitigate that. Jeff Smith, obviously, it's a great field when Jeff Smith is in it. He's not going to be. He is going to be flying back, and he's not able to participate. So Jack Robinson does step up. John Part will be the 15 seed. Jack Robinson will be the 16 seed as Jeff Smith bows aside. Certainly looking forward to coming back and playing next year. I know we'll see him back here. I've had some conversations with him, but so it's going to be a great tour. So you've got debutante, Jack Robinson coming on in his first year qualifying for the Cup. He had a great first weekend, and just that's what carried him in, and God bless. Nick Lindbergh, it's great to see him playing well. Misses by a half a point. and it's just fantastic to see the way he has put his game back to where it should be. We know he's a hell of a player. We know, he's a former champion, and he's kind of gone through some, I would say, just life has gotten in the way, and so he's had some disappointing results. But this year, he got himself back to where he belongs, and I think there's a darn good chance he finds himself square in the middle of this field next year if he continues playing the way he's playing. So all those guys, you look at one of these guys and go, does he not have a chance? I don't think there's a guy on here who doesn't have a chance to do something.
Not one. Oh, I've got stuff for both you guys. I mean, I've got potential matchups. I've got blurbs. Like, before we go any further, somebody in the chat just asking about Jeff Smith. Jeff, this is a testament to where you're going. The question is from Charles Johnson, with Jeff Smith having 35, how many did he miss this season? Exactly. He didn't play the full slate, and he still qualified for.
He missed 2 weekends.
He missed two, exactly. Yep. Missed 2 weekends. But I mean, that's what Jeff Smith doing Jeff Smith things in a way, right? He's never won a circuit event, but he's won a Continental Cup. He's won a cross border. Like, he's a big time player, and to watch that unfold over the weekend, to that point about that he didn't get to play the whole season. You want to talk about an extremely dangerous customer, the Cub sliding in at the back end of that Continental Cup. What high seed wants to see Jeff Smith sitting there at the end of that bracket? Boy, oh boy. Before Sean, like, a couple of blurbs. I'm looking over everything to go for social media stuff. Like, I think off the top of my head, I think we've got like 11 out of the 16 have won like a CDC circuit event. We've got 5 prior Continental Cup champions now with Jeff out. It was 6. So the quality is just insane. So give me your feelings on that, and then I'm going to hit you with a couple of potential matchups if things stay the same.
Yeah, if I'm thinking this correctly, it's 12 of the 16 have won CDC events, excluding Jeff Springer, Steve Warnock, Joey Lanaugh, and then Jack Robinson getting in. But Joey, of course, former Evolution Tour champion. So that kind of knocks that to even. Steve Warnock has been in multiple Continental Cups. Jeff Springer had one of the best seasons this year of anyone on tour. He was very consistent. When he was in Chicago both weekends, he was a man to beat. Made another deep run this past weekend, so he's going to be able to do some damage from that 11 spot. And I mean, you want to talk about if Jeff Smith, if we're looking at like that qualification, 14, 15, 16 seed are arguably the 3 most decorated North Americans of all time. As the 14, 15, and 16 seed, right? Like, yeah. All right, Jim Long, congratulations for making the top Canadian. You get to play Jeff Smith in the first round. And now it's John Part in the first round, the most decorated Canadian of all time. Good luck with that, because John's been playing extremely well. I mean, Leonard Gates is going to feel a lot better about Jack Robinson than he would John Part. I can tell you that much. But he also is not going to feel that great because Jack Robinson has probably done some damage to Leonard Gates this season. It's such a good, solid, amazing field. 1 through 10 has won CDC events. It's insane.
Yeah, the 3 of us are such geeks that I can't help myself. We will do, like I said, we will. I'm looking. Go till midnight. Me and KJ are messaging. Maybe it looks like maybe October 10th we'll try and do some sort of official. We probably will have the bracket locked in by then. We can do a more official episode of some sort, whether it's a bonus episode. We'll do some previews. And if you want to stay up on that, then make sure you sign up to the CDC newsletter and to keep up to date. But again, I can't help myself. And, me and Pete need to start working on the administrative stuff. So I'm starting to write up who's in and then what the matches are. We need to build Friday night. What is, look at these games and how do you decide who plays first, who plays third, who plays seventh? And so for 2 days, Pete, I've been dying to just send this to you, and I keep forgetting, and I'm going like, how fun is it to play with these puzzle pieces? Like, this is what me and Citera got into this for. Like, I'm just sorry that, like, this is what we love. And, like, here's your matchups. If that's 16, can all make it, RSVP, the whole deal. Here's your lineup in bracket order. Gates, Robinson. Womack Mawson, Sevada Lenore, Cameron Warnock, Long Part, Taylor Bame, Bunce Butler, Spellman Springer. That's so awesome. I don't know where to begin.
Listen, the genuine excitement after you said that, it really, it's real, right? It's what we're feeling. I have the greatest job in the world that I get to do commentary for all of those matches. Hopefully, it's insane that I get that opportunity. It really is. It makes these are the easy days when I get to show up for Continental Cup and just let the darts all do the talking. Those matchups are all fantastic. It'll be a prayer for us to pick a winner correctly out of that 16, because, man, 12 event winners out of the 16. The three most decorated players.
I went back there quickly, Mr. Sean. I think insane. It was 11. Smith. Actually,
it was 11.
Didn't win. I think it was 11. But we'll beg to differ, and we'll do an official count coming out of this. I'll bet you.
I know the top 10
all have pretzel on whether it was 11 or 12.
Ooh, I'm in because that means it's a win no matter what.
Amen to that. Those pretzels are amazing. Take it from a guy who likes to eat. One of the most fun parts of my job, and I don't get to share it with anybody, is the fact that I get to see the raw odds on these matches before they get sent to the books. And the books will hang their own stuff, right? But the raw odds, I look at them before they go out, just because they'll hey, is there anything here that strikes you as like, wow, we got a problem, it just doesn't make any sense. So they want me to, and again, I can't share it with anybody, but I cannot wait until those odds end up on my desk to look at and go. I mean, because how do you set those, right? I wouldn't want that job.
Those eight matches I just gave you, if you told us like a month ago those were the final, we'd be like, yeah, okay, I can see that being the final of the Continental Cup. Like Springer, Spellman? Come on.
Yeah. We say it every darn year, but this is probably the most talented field yet, and it's just the way the whole year played out. You know, we talked a lot about the tightness at the top, and you mentioned about the grouping at the bottom. I say the bottom, the grouping from 16 to 24. It was just as tight from 16 to 24 as it was from 1 to 6. So, I mean, there were stories down there that we didn't even have time to bring up.
That was a whole social media post. It was like it deserved its own attention because it was just as interesting. It was you had half a dozen players vying for 2 spots.
Yep, exactly. And it's
so now
let's
It absolutely. Now you touched on it, and so let's go into the gaming a little more. We haven't touched this whole episode, and we don't want to go too much longer. We're having a great time, but what should we expect rolling into the Continental Cup? Where can people get info? What do we think the plan may or may not be for the Continental Cup when it comes to gaming?
So one of the advantages about the Continental Cup is we'll have the bracket locked in well in advance, and it's players that are known quantities. So I would anticipate that we will be in multiple books. Last weekend we were on DraftKings, we were on Bet365. We were also on BetChris in the Latin American Caribbean regions. It's difficult on the regular weekends, especially now, because you're competing against the NFL, you're competing against the NBA, the WNBA playoffs, you've got baseball coming down to it. So I don't want to get in the weeds, but this is the reason that we need that data integration to happen that I've been talking about, for a number of months, is because it makes it easier and less resource intensive on the part of the books. As of now, they got to hang everything manually. And, sure, if it's a slow sports day, throw CDC up there. We'll see what we can do. But if it's a choice of, well, now it's college football Saturday and NFL Sunday, and who are these darts guys again? It's not that I'm not extremely proud of where we've gotten, but let's face it, if you're DraftKings, you got to put time and effort into it. you're not going to put time and effort into CDC when you've got, the biggest thing in sports wagering to go on that weekend. So I think that we'll have the odds much earlier, even with the brackets being done in advance and being drawn in advance. It still is a couple of days to get the odds drawn up, to get some of the administrative stuff done. Then the odds go to the books, and then they've got to look at the raw odds, which I told you that I looked at, but they got to look at it and decide what they want to do to theirs. Like they don't put the raw odds up. They take the raw odds and they put it through their process, which is proprietary, and decide what the fans are going to see. And so I would anticipate that we'll very likely be in DraftKings. We'll very likely be on Bet365. I can almost guarantee we'll be again in Latin America and the Caribbean. So, it's going to be really nice to it's gonna be really nice. Come on, Corey Turner. Don't you give me any black light. He's trying to throw me off my game. I'm not really happy about that. If he's a Red Wings
Stay
fan,
focused, Citera.
Anyway.
Focus.
Squirrel.
No Cubs, no Blackhawks. Focus.
Had to pop that up on
They
that.
all suck. Let's move on. Hey now.
All right. You know what? We're not friends anymore. None of us.
Am I not mistaken that if somebody who was new to gaming and wanted to sign up fresh and check out some information, would they go to nxtbets.com/play CDC?
Yes, and that before Corey Turner threw me off my game completely, yes, that is where you go. You go to nxtbets.com/play CDC. nxtbets.com/play CDC. We're now in 20 jurisdictions. So including Ontario, Canada, if we have an operator that'll pick us up there. It's been kind of hit or miss up there. So I would hope that by the time we get to the Continental Cup, we might be in a few more. But, we started the year with 4 and now we're in 20. So we're moving the right direction on it. It hasn't turned into the revenue stream that we wanted. I mean, I'll be candid about that. But that's, again, a lot because we don't have the in-game wagering. We don't have the brackets are not going up with a lot of advanced time because of the work that goes into it. So once we get that integration piece done, I think that's going to turn the corner on the wagering. And anytime we talk about wagering, give it
to Sean. Give it to Sean.
Oh, yeah, Sean's probably got it memorized just like I do.
What do we need to know?
It's void wherever prohibited. You must be 21 years or older, and if you have a gambling problem, please reach out to 1-800-GAMBLER.
Thank you, Sean. I just heard him do that so wonderfully next to me in the commentary booth. I knew he had that teed up.
See individual operator terms and conditions.
Boom.
Yeah,
because there are some offers out there you can take advantage of, some sign-up bonuses, and which, by the way, I'll be candid, we get a nice little spiff when you take advantage of our sign-up bonus. So if you don't have an account in any of these places, folks, go to nxtbets.com/play CDC, sign up for an account. You don't even have to bet on darts. You can bet on anything else and still get you just got to fund your account, make a wager, and we do see a little spiff off of that.
We get the credit for it. So for the uninitiated, which in a little bit I am, so sometimes it's kind of good where I can play. I forget what the term is.
You can't play anything, Eugenia. I don't want to hear you use the word play.
I don't mean that. I mean in terms of understanding the process. I didn't even hear what you said, but it must have been funny.
Coy, dumb. You can play either of those.
Coy.
I don't know what the word is.
In the process of, you talked about the integration and what that would bring and why that will sort of bring us into the next level. Like I said, for those, not with the tech language, that would enable people to in real time have numbers on, immediate match 180s, or, like you've talked about, fun stuff that they do. Is this going to be an out on a green or a red double, or like real time stuff that they need, right? Isn't that one of your favorites? Making a face.
I like it, but we're not going to get to green or red double. That'll be
okay. I don't.
But it's stuff like that.
That's the point.
Exactly right. It's the props.
That's the point. I am playing the uninitiated audience member that isn't really hip to this stuff, so I want you to school me. That's my role, and there's a term for that, and I can't think of it, and you'll tell me it later. But anyhow,
yeah, it'll be nice when we get those in game, those.
Ombudsman. Isn't that the term? The ombudsman. I am the audience ombudsman.
Okay, so if Dan Dawson is watching, I want to be clear that Anthony Eugenia is putting in an application for your position as the ombudsman of darts, Mr. Dawson. So you're going to have to step up your game. But yeah, there's a lot of potential there. And obviously, we want people to have a good time, and we certainly don't want people to suffer because of it. So again, if you do have a gambling problem, please do reach out. That's the last thing we want, is for people to end up in a spot that's bad for them.
You betcha. Without it's a topic for another day, but I fully understand there is a way out, and if it's a problem, then you get it addressed. This is meant to be pleasurable and fun. So before we sort of wrap up and go into see if there's any other general comments, anything else you guys have on the upcoming Continental Cup, like more and more info will be coming out social media wise in terms of if people have specifics about the format and all that, schedules, that's the stuff we're working on. So Pete first and then Sean.
No, I don't have anything on the Continental Cup. I got a couple things that are just general that I want to bring up, but we're still on the Cup.
Anything on the Cup, Sean?
Just get tickets, guys. I'm telling you, if you're on the fence, I get to go to events sometime and see these players play anyway. Why do I need to be a fan of it? Well, it's to grow the sport here first and foremost, but secondly, we're making it an actual event that's fun to attend as a dart fan, and as a person that, if you know things about darts, we want you there. And if you don't know anything about darts, we want you there. Have a good time. Just enjoy your evening. And you're in Philly. You can get a cheesesteak from like 8 different corners and have 8 different types that are all the best in the world. Those pretzels, you have to start pronouncing water like that and say use guys. But other than that, it's all worth it. It's such a great event. It's a great city. You want to talk about underdog city? That's Philadelphia, right? So maybe the bottom half of this bracket is who pulls out the win at the Continental Cup this year. But get involved, guys. Just go to Champ Darts, get your tickets. You're going to have a great time. You will not regret it. I can guarantee you that. This is my 3rd year of attending one, and the first 2 have knocked out of the park, and I cannot wait for this one. It's going to be bigger and better.
So before we throw it to Pete with some general stuff, we had a question. Would we ever see a CDC event in Newfoundland? And I'm probably not pronouncing that right. I got scolded, but I'm coming close.
It's a hard D. Yeah.
A hard Newfoundland. D. Newfoundland. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes and no. We have a great desire to come there. We'd like to. We've toyed around with it. If we can overcome the hurdles that are presented, that are monetary, production, et cetera, those are in the way. But is the possibility there? Yes, always has been. So, Mr. Citera, what else you got for us before we wrap it up?
Yeah, it's a darn good question on the Newfoundland thing, and I would love to go up there. We've had some discussions with people there. I would not be surprised if we're there in the future, but I'm not going to make any promises that as to when. But it is certainly well in our sights and on our radar. A couple things that I have, I guess 2.5 things. We talked a lot about the main tour. We talked a lot about the need to get that next group of people up. One of the places that we face really big challenges that we need to focus on is the youth, right? Our junior, we call it the Junior Evolution Tour this year. I got to call out Team Canada going to the Junior World Cup and Team USA. So Team Canada's Jacob Sa, Ben Goddard, Ethan Marshall, and Kaylee Penny. Team USA, Zachary Meeks, Stowe Bunce Jr., Stowe A. Bunce, as we call him, Tegan Crouch, and Dylan Geary. They will represent our wonderful countries in Gibraltar in November. And we also have 2 players from each country that are going to represent their countries in the PDC Winmore World Youth Championship. That'll be coming up in just a few short weeks. From Canada, we got Connor Watt and Donovan Pylan. And in the USA, we've got Doug DeMckelly and Mason Taylor. Doug DeMckelly is also a CDC Tour card holder in his own right and has performed pretty well on the main tour too. So, guys, you're going to hear me talk a lot about this in various appearances towards the end of the year that we've got to focus as a country on elevating the youth. We've got to put time and effort into it. Not that we haven't. Aaron Quinn does a fantastic job, but we've got to find new ways to create new opportunities, more money, more availability of players. Because let me tell you what I'm seeing over there, and what we're all seeing is that the next generation in Europe is right now just phenomenal, and we've got a very limited window to catch up, or we're going to be right back where we were in 2014, 2013. So we got to find a way to do that. Really cool. We're starting to see some, some academies, or an academy open up over here. Hopefully we'll be able to, work behind the scenes and get a couple more of those. The youth game is the future, because those next level card holders, at some point, we're going to see people age out, right? And you need to have the next generation behind. And the last thing that I want to say is
before you go,
go ahead.
Before you move, if it's off, is it off youth?
Yeah, it's off youth. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to very expressly thank you very much for bringing the youth up and bringing that info. I've done a terrible job in the last few months of not keeping us up to date, keeping everybody up to date on what's been going on with the youth. I mean, like you said, Aaron Quinn's been out there running events. We've got young players out there on a tour, just like we talked about with the main circuit. Evolution and junior players 17 and under, pardon me. Evolution's up to 23, grinding it out, just like the big guys. So, I have been very remiss on not having it as a topic on this show, and we'll do better as we move forward. So thank you very much, Pete. I just messaged KJ as well. I think might line up perfectly in November when we do our November episode, see if we can have Aaron Quinn on to have that proper chat about what went on this year, what's in the future, that sort of thing. So I just want to thank you very much for bringing up our youth efforts and what those great young players did this summer. So back to you, sir.
They're great kids. They're great kids. And the other thing that I want to call out is we've got CDC in the U.S. and Canada. We also have a affiliate tour of our own kind of. It's not officially a subsidiary. It's kind of independent company, but it's an affiliate of CDC that is in the Caribbean and Latin America. And they have an event coming up that will determine their world championship representative. It's coming up the first weekend in October. So Jeff Good's going down there. I am sad to miss this one. First CDLC that I'm not going to be at in the regular tour. Kind of really upset about that. But they're in Santiago, Chile.
Fantastic.
And it's a really tight race at the top. You've got Rashad Sweeting, who nobody heard of, right? He's a nobody coming out of the Bahamas and makes a name for himself in Jamaica at our first stop. Norman Madden, who everybody knows, represented last year, sitting there at 22 points. Sudesh Fitzgerald, they're both in line, Norman and Sudesh from Guyana. And then Guillermo Soto, we call him Memo, and from Costa Rica. Those are the top four guys. And certainly, the level of play there is still where we were, many years ago, but it's on the way up, and we're building that in that area too. So it's really cool to think, if we stop and pause for a second, that we really do have professional darts and PDC affiliated darts from the North Pole to the South Pole on this hemisphere. And it's if you'd told me 5 years ago, hey, Citera, you're going to be running events in, on 2 continents and 6 countries, I'd have told you were absolutely insane. But it's great. And all the credit to Jeff Good for what he does for the players down in Latin America and the Caribbean. Could not do it without him.
What perfect content for our new segment that was filling the end of this episode, Darts Around the World. We touched on people going to Gibraltar and England and playing down in Santiago. So, we're going to start to close these episodes with a little look on what's going on with Darts Around the World. Sounds like a pretty good title to me. So I guess, Sean, any last comments, anything you want to say about either quickly on the youth that Pete brought up or the CDLC? I want to throw it to you, but we're almost 2 hours in here.
I get it. I'm long-winded. I understand. You can just tell me that. And just be like,
I'm
just
the king of long-winded.
shorten up your answer, Sean. What Peter touched on for both of those is absolutely fantastic. I was unaware that LDLC had that this weekend, or CDLC. I apologize. Listen, do you need someone to replace you to go to Chile? I can be available. I'm trying to eventually get to where commentary and streaming is a part of these events, so that maybe I can also go to Jamaica. But until then, it's really cool. Jeff Good, not only does he do amazing things for that, but it needs to be said, the hard work that he does on our CDC tour from setup to the truck, any of the hard work, the real dig deep, hard, got to have muscle for work is Jeff Good managing all of that. He makes things so much easier for setup, for breakdown. It's honestly, without him, I think that it would take twice as long to do those things. So the heroes behind the scenes of the CDC, Jeff Good, even as a principal, the fact that all of you guys, especially the principals, put in all that hard work during setup and breakdown, makes it easy to work with you guys and work for you guys and alongside you, because you guys work just as hard, if not harder, than we do. So as a staff, and speaking of as one of the staff members, I really appreciate all of the hard work that you guys put in.
Well, thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Well, that brings us to a close. I want to thank Adam Sevada for joining us this evening. I see a comment in there. Jeff Springer is all geeked up for the Continental Cup. He's going to see us in a few weeks, and Jeff, we'll see you in Philly, baby. Thank you to my contributors this evening, Sean Green and Peter Citera. I also want to thank our showrunner, KJ McGlynn, for the work that she's put in to set this show up. And I really specifically want to take a consolidated few seconds here to thank our producer, Jeff McMahon, who has given up a whole lot of his time and energy to get this show going. I'm talking about this week with graphics and setups and vmixes and audio and videos and everything. And of course, Vicky Romero putting together beautiful videos and graphics as well. But Jeff is the one taking a whole lot of time out of his day and his life and his family's time to help us put this together. And we all greatly appreciate everything you do, not only here for the show, Jeff, but for the CDC weekends and the CDC special events and everything. So thank you so very much.
Blessed.
What?
We are so blessed. We are so blessed to have the staff we have from top to bottom.
And we are blessed to have you out there. So we want to just remind you, if you like what we're doing, please find us on social media at Champ Darts on YouTube. Like and subscribe to those pages. Give us a like and share on the videos that we do. Give us a review on the podcast apps. We do this all for you, so we hope that you're enjoying it. We will see you again in a few weeks with a preview for the Continental Cup coming up October 18th, 19th in Philadelphia. You get tickets, champdarts.com. I'm Anthony Eugenia. We've had a blast, and we hope you have too. See you soon.
I'm going to need to install a bleep button for Aaron.
Thanks for joining us for Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Darts Circuit. Subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode, and follow us at Champ Darts on social media to keep up with all of the latest news on North American darts.